You've seen it. Of course you have. On the train, at the gym, on the heads of the world's biggest athletes and musicians. That simple, iconic B logo. In just a few years, Beats by Dre didn't just join the headphone market, it became the market, turning a piece of tech into a must-have global fashion statement. But here's the wild part, the paradox that this whole story hinges on. While everyone was buying them, the experts, the audiophiles, the tech reviewers, they absolutely hated them. They called them muddy, overpriced, just plain bad. So, how did a product that was technically considered, well, kind of trash, become the most valuable audio brand on the planet? That's how much. $3 billion. That is the jaw-dropping price Apple paid to buy Beats back in 2014. To even begin to understand that number, we have to look at how two music industry legends sold the world a feeling, not a frequency. So let's get into it. It all started not in some fancy engineering lab, but in a conversation between two absolute titans of music, the one and only Dr. Dre and legendary record executive Jimmy Iovine. Think back to the mid-2000s. The iPod had completely changed the game for how we carry our music, right? But the actual experience of listening to it was getting destroyed. People were hearing these incredible studio-produced tracks through flimsy, dollar store quality earbuds that came free in the box. For a master producer like Dr. Dre, this was just a total disaster. And that frustration right there, that was the spark. All the passion, the booming bass, the soul they poured into the music in the studio was just getting lost. And that's when Iovine had this massive light bulb moment. His idea? Forget sneakers, let's sell speakers. And this is the key to everything. They knew they couldn't just build a better sounding headphone. They had to sell a better vibe. They figured out that people weren't really just buying a tool to listen to music. They were buying a way to be seen listening to music. It had to be a statement, an identity. So, with this focus on image over audio quality, they pulled off their first marketing masterstroke, a brilliant heist on the biggest stage in the world. Okay, the sheer audacity here is just incredible. While Panasonic was shelling out over $100 million to be the official sponsor of the 2012 London Olympics, Beats paid zero, nothing. Instead, they launched what's called an ambush marketing campaign. They just strategically gifted custom headphones decked out in national colors to all the biggest athletes. Now, the Olympic Committee has super strict rules against unofficial sponsors, but Beats found this clever little loophole. The athletes weren't officially promoting anything. They were just using a product they love to get in the zone. And just like that, every single pre-race camera shot became a free primetime commercial for Beats. The brand instantly looked like it was part of the elite, and it didn't cost them a penny in sponsorship fees. But the marketing genius wasn't just on the outside. Oh no, it was engineered right into the product itself, using a fascinating psychological trick. So a few years back, an engineering firm did a full teardown of the Beats Solo headphones, and what they found was just stunning. While they were selling for $200, the estimated cost of all the parts inside was about $18. We are talking a markup of over 1,000%. The actual speakers, the things that make this sound, cost less than $2 for the pair. So it makes you wonder, right? If you're not paying for the audio parts, where is all that value and all that cost actually coming from? Well, the answer is a brilliant bit of psychological design. It all comes down to a principle called haptic perception. To put it simply, our brains have this built-in shortcut. Heavy feels expensive, and light feels cheap. When you pick something up, its weight sends an instant subconscious signal to your brain about its quality and how well it's made. And the folks at Beats understood this perfectly. And here is the secret, literally hidden inside the headphones. That same teardown revealed that nearly a third of the product's entire weight comes from 4 pieces of metal that have absolutely no electronic function. They don't do anything for the sound. They're literally just in there to make the headphones feel more substantial, more premium, more valuable in your hands. It's a placebo effect you can feel. This 1-2 punch of cultural dominance and clever perceived quality created a brand that was just unstoppable. And, well, it wasn't long before the biggest tech company in the world came knocking. When Apple wrote that massive $3 billion check, the way they broke down the value tells you everything. They valued the headphone business at a whopping $2.5 billion. The streaming music service? Only $500 million. That shows you exactly what Apple was really after. You see, Apple wasn't just buying plastic and speakers. They were buying a brand that owned almost 60% of the premium headphone market. They were buying the building blocks for what would become Apple Music. But most of all, they were buying relevance. They were buying cool. And they were buying the unmatched industry connections of Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. I mean, don't just take my word for it. Apple CEO Tim Cook said it himself. He knew this wasn't about hardware. It was an infusion of talent. Apple knew that Dre and Iovine had their finger on the pulse of culture. And that was something you just can't build in the lab in Cupertino. So when you step back and look at the whole incredible saga, what's the ultimate lesson from the Beats phenomenon? It's a really powerful insight into what we decide is valuable in the first place. You know, economists have a special term for this kind of product, a Veblen good. It's a luxury item that totally breaks the normal rules of supply and demand. For most things, if the price goes up, demand goes down. But for a Veblen good, the higher price actually makes it more desirable because the price tag itself is a signal of status. And that's the secret. Beats was never really competing against Bose or Sennheiser on sound specs. It was competing with Rolex watches and Gucci bags as a wearable flex. The headphones weren't just for your ears. They were for everybody else's eyes. And that really is the core takeaway here. Beats proved that sometimes the story you tell about a product can be way more valuable than the product itself. They built a $3 billion empire, not on engineering, but on brilliant, unstoppable storytelling. Which leaves us with one final, kind of tricky question to think about. If a customer buys a feeling, an identity, a piece of a story, and they're genuinely happy with what they paid for, does the cost of the parts even matter? Is it a brilliant piece of business, or is it a bit of a scam? What do you think?